loves, welcome to Authentic Living with Tapa.
Hi everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. It's Authentic Living with Tapa and we are back again on this other exciting episode, and we have a guest, guys, and I'm so excited to be sitting next to my very dear friend. His name is Bame, and we're going to have a very exciting conversation. And before we get right into it, I just want you guys to appreciate something and to appreciate the sponsor for this particular video, which is Bame and Beauty. This beautiful face has been made by Bame, and she operates from Block 5, and I will leave her details on the links or a link to her page on this video, and you can always contact her to come and make yourself beautiful. She does makeup, she does nails, and she is a very good therapist, and we're going to have a nice conversation today. I hope you guys enjoy the video. Bame, welcome to Authentic Living with Tapa.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's been long since we actually made a physical interaction, and a lot of things have happened in between. We have grown. I think the last time we met was when
well before graduation.
And remember, I didn't get to finish classes with you because I had COVID.
Yeah, you had to be quarantined.
Yeah, so our last days was around June. Yeah, I think towards the end of June 2021. But I think we've been keeping in touch, and we've been seeing everything that is happening around. There's so many things that are happening. We've also grown, we've also evolved as women in the profession as well. So maybe just to give a brief overview of who you are and what you do to the viewers back at home.
Alright, hi viewers. As introduced, my name is Bame. I'm a makeup artist, nail tech, I'm a storyteller, I'm a speaker. But above all, professionally, I am a psychological counselor with a Bachelor of Psychology from UB. Tabo and I studied together all those difficult years that we persevered. And I'm here today to have a very, very interesting conversation.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Bame. So today we are going to discuss about the rising statistics in violence that we see in Botswana. Just an overview. For the past 3 or 4 months now, we've been receiving cases of people killing each other, gender-based violence, any sort of violence. People are being raped. There's just a lot that is going on, and we are actually coming to a conclusion as a nation to say, are we really a violent nation? What is really happening? What could be the problem? So Bame, tell me, what is your opinion about all these things that are happening? And tell me, do you think it's violence or it's just violence against a certain gender? What do you make of all these issues?
There's a lot that's been happening again. I think the statistics have actually been flipping. 1 minute it's a girl has cut up the boyfriend and the teenage girl. The next thing it's men killing women and children and both and everything. It's a mass, and hence the rising statistics in gender-based violence. And I think we call it that because a lot of it is based on the stronger gender being the one that's implementing. So for as much as yes, there are also killings of women killing men, women being abusive verbally, emotionally, and physically to their husbands and their spouses and their wives and their sons. A large part of what we're seeing is mostly women being affected by these issues. So I think to generalize it and call it just violence kind of turns a blind eye to the true picture of what we're seeing. So we give certain things certain names because we want to highlight where the most work that needs to be done is. Not to say whether the others don't exist, but to say they exist. But what we're seeing is the bigger trend is over here.
Yeah.
You asked if I think we're just a violent nation, and I know the statistics say we're unhappy,
Yeah.
which I think is a fair evaluation.
It's true.
Looking at our economic status, the gap between the poor and the rich, you know, the unemployment rate with a large population of us being youth.
Yeah.
But violent, can I plead the fifth? I wouldn't say that we're a violent nation.
Yeah, that's true. Because when you're talking about being unhappy, well, not necessarily pleading the fifth with you, I would say sometimes unhappiness can lead to violence.
It can.
Yeah, but to entirely say Botswana are violent, I don't think we are even close to that. And it also comes back to maybe we should address the unhappiness part so that it doesn't give birth to things like violence and maybe other bigger things that are coming that we have not seen yet. But I think you pretty much touched something that we also learned in school, to say if we are going to turn a blind eye to say it is gender based, then maybe we want it is not the right step to actually get to fix the problem, because we've been taught for us to solve the problem, we need to realize that we have the problem. We have to even
know what the problem is,
to define it. So if for example we are a violent nation, or it's just a violence, and we don't direct it to say what specific type of violence, maybe we're a little bit far from actually addressing it. So we are not necessarily saying there is just general violence, but we are saying for now we are actually having a hard time with the one that is subjected to the weaker gender, which is children and women. And in most cases, you understand. So, but yeah, we've seen, I remember that other case, so all these cases are so horrible. So I want us to debunk these types of violence, you know. Passion killings, premeditated. So can you please take us through, what are these types of like killings and what do they mean, and give example maybe in the context of the experiences we've had in Botswana.
I think we should first acknowledge it starts off as small violence, as you understand, and then ultimately it leads to the killings, right? So it's small acts that lead to big things. Everything big started off small, including violence and murder and stuff, right? And then for us to then arrive in our murders and call them passion killings and premeditated murders, which is a lot of what's been going on. We see people killing their girlfriends when they find out, no, this one was unfaithful, or when we find out, she took my money, and then there's a lot of that's going on, and for some reason the solution is always killing. So I think that's what you want us to do right now, is to talk about that, the terms that have been given, our premeditated murder, which is where the states assume that you took time to go and sit down and decide to kill someone. And then we have your passion killings, which usually fall under the voluntary manslaughter type of killing, where we say it was because of the heat of the moment. In that very moment, the rush, the anger, the adrenaline caused you to take someone's life. So those are the main types of killings that I think we're seeing these days, and that's what the social media is discussing, because then it informs the punishment. The type of murder that was committed then informs the type of punishment that will be given, and that's where the buzz is mostly about lately.
And I want us to actually talk about the premeditated type of murder. I just want us to just discuss it a little bit deeper, to say, right now we are partners, I find out that you are unfaithful to me. I go and think about it, and in most cases my thinking won't be any type of positive thinking.
Of course.
That is why we end up seeing them, their thoughts leading to negative behavior, which includes vulnerable killing, which include injuring another person, or just sometimes it's also neglecting or just because of that. So I want us to talk about if these people find out those traumatic things that their partners or their sisters or the other person is doing to them, do we think someone can go and think anything positive in terms of how can I solve this situation? Or it's always, why are they always premeditating on coming back to do negative things?
I think it's many reasons. I think it's many reasons, but like you said, a lot of things start with our thoughts. Our thoughts influence how we feel, and then how we feel ultimately influence how we act. If I find out that my partner isn't faithful and my immediate thought is one clear, the actions that are going to follow are going to match those thoughts. The feelings from one clear, like she doesn't rate me, she doesn't respect me, will mostly be rage, and the result of rage is violence. Hence why perhaps we see a lot of bleeding. So we could attribute it to thought process. However, if my partner cheats on me and you try and frame your thoughts to a more, perhaps it's her character, there's something that she's dealing with that caused her to act that way. It reduces the negative emotion, the more rageful response that we would get. So I think it's a lot of reasons that lead people to ultimately going there. But a large part of it, like you mentioned, is our thoughts and our then rageful results.
Yeah, because I was thinking about it, Bame, to say, okay, kind we are now just having this conversation just like to be baseless. We want to come up with a solution to say, okay, fine. Right now, okay, it's about therapist, Bame therapist. One, I guess now find out instead of premeditating the matter, like you're saying, think maybe there's something, it's not even about me. Take yourself out of the situation. That's not me, it's you. I get it. So maybe think, I've got nothing to do with her. Maybe I should say, you know what, let's go and get you help. If at all you want to save the relationship, or because people won't know, why didn't you just break up? Why didn't you just leave instead of and then you go and kill yourself? Because they also kill themselves, these people. And I want us to discuss that later on. We need him to come and get that punishment. So that is the conflict. I myself, I don't even know how I feel about it. I don't know if it's better if they kill themselves or they don't. Maybe we should just get right into it before we forget it. What do you think? They normally kill themselves.
They do.
Or they run away and then we find them.
And then we find them.
Yeah.
I think because there's many ways to look at things. From a psychological perspective, I'm like, but that's such a cowardly move. You did this and you ran away again. But also I can understand the emotional turmoil that comes with carrying out murder. Perhaps that person realized it was an extreme shock that the only answer they found was, let me take my own life. And then there's also the moral perspective that says, do unto others as you want to be done to you, you know. So it gets very conflicting for me as a moral person, as a psychologist, and also as a Christian, because that's also another role, because another ultimate judges at the end of the day. So
how about the ultimate judge? They played God enough to take someone's life and also take their own life. But then again, in Nahore, also, why did you condemn yourself to a point that I should die also because I killed someone? If we want to the other part here, the people who bow bullets and bang. We want to see you, we have to look straight into your eyes, rule your life sentence. But also sometimes it's not enough. But why was he not hanged? Why was he given life? So it becomes a whole thing. But I think that's also another
It's a can of worms.
Yeah. So it's just going to be a snowball of ideas and everything. But you mentioned something about thoughts, emotions, and behavior. So I've heard social scientists, we have been as part of that conversation also on social media to say, for the government to find a solution to these things, we need to be on the ground. We need to find out why are people killing others and why are they killing themselves, So maybe we can get on to the explanation about how does someone get to act in a certain way. What are the theories of behavior that we can mention for now to say, also attributing them to the cases that we are talking about?
And I think that's a very good discussion. Because before there's an adult, there's a child.
Yes.
I get it. And the premise of a lot, if not all of the psychological principles or theories that we have is that our earlier childhood experiences influence who we turn out to be and how we get to where we be, right? So when we look at people that are more violent, some of the ideas that we throw around come from the social learning theories. We have Albert Bandura, who talks about how children learn and execute. So wana o kudileng abona violence grows up to be violent. A child that grows up knowing that being beat up is the solution to fixing things, grows up knowing that being beat up, and this doesn't only apply to maybe an abusive father, an abusive uncle, an abusive mother. It goes on to the media that our children also consume.
The abusive society.
The abusive society.
Kids are learning in Botswana, women are killed and children are killed.
So it starts from there, and then it grows and manifests into the abusive adult, into the adult that takes life. So I think that's one of the key theories that I think could apply the social learning theory. We grow up, we watch, we learn, and we come up with thoughts. We build these schemas or these ideas of this is how the world works. We grow up in the patriarchy. So those patriarchal ideas that we grew up in are the ones that influence a lot of it. Some of it is just impulse control, that people, not everyone is able to have control of their impulses. Someone can piss me off. I sit and think before I say something. But I've seen situations where and they're just spewing whatever they want to spew. And then at the end of the day, they're like, I didn't need to say any of that. So I think impulse control factors, social learning theory, and also how you grow up as an individual play a major role in.
I love it how you took it to the streets and not necessarily in the household. Because kids also, it's about what we expose them to. People think, they think it's just some types of things that influences do. But also if a child has been also exposed to a violent nation or society. We know how in the US, the shootings and killings, and we have kids who end up in gangs and are the ones who are instigating the same crimes as well that they grew up seeing. So it's also another thought that came to my mind. The punishment is not necessarily that reinforcing or people can stop. Because I think right now the other issue that Botswana are really complaining about is the measures that are taken are way too light and we don't file back. Or prosecute you again. So life and then I can live forever.
Free accommodation.
Free and food and stuff. So that also plays a bigger role. And I want us to get into the cognitive behavioral theory, the one that you mentioned, and I want you to do the reverse of it as well, and maybe educate people or in terms of our thoughts, our emotions, and our behavior, and vice versa.
I think this is a perfect time to chip in. For as much as the legal system also plays its role, like by instilling fear and the consequences, there's also a grassroots a level that we at home that we can play, that we can do, like and that's where we start to chip in terms of you experience something that you are unable to handle on your own, and the people around you are unable to help you with. It's important for you to then go see a therapist, go see someone you can talk to, go to a professional. Which brings us then to how we make you aware of what we call the cognitive behavioral approach that says that our ideas, our thoughts, and our processes has a major influence on how we feel, and how we feel influences our actions and our behaviors. And that's the system of the cognitive behavioral theory. So negative thoughts lead to negative feelings. Negative feelings lead to negative actions. And vice versa. It also brings about the concept of what we call reciprocal determinism. Those negative feelings that you are then in give birth to negative thoughts, which then give birth to negative actions. So it's a sort of loop that you then find yourself, and as an individual, you need to work on finding where to break it. You either work on breaking the thought patterns, the negative thought patterns, or working on changing the emotions, or working on changing the behavior, because somewhere, somehow, it's going to keep giving birth to each other. A classic example that I like to give to people is if something bad happens to me, and I think to myself, I will never amount to anything. That is a thought. The feelings that come from there then become worthlessness. The feelings then become worthlessness, and the actions of worthlessness, laziness. I'm gonna be sluggish and lethargic. I'm not gonna do anything. Thinking like you're obeying. Those actions, they really prove that initial thought process. And then what it does is then the actions prove the thought, and then the thoughts become magnified. See, I've been here all week, I haven't done anything productive. Then you feel, and then it's a cycle that keeps going on. It's just a cycle that keeps on going on.
And also the context of what you are saying. You find out that the people who kill, they will do an act, and then they'll feel some type of way, and then they condemn themselves, or other people as they should. But we are also talking about rehabilitation. There was a time when I did a series of talking to perpetrators of crimes, and because one way or the other, we cannot kill all of them. We can't do mass killing. We can't kill all of them. The corrupt seed. Some of them would have to be rehabilitated and being reintegrated into the society. I don't know if people at home know that there are psychologists in prisons. There are people who are hired to go and help the people who have killed your mom, or who have killed your sister, or who have killed your child. Because at the end of the day, there should be a process of rehabilitation. So, the actions are going to influence how they feel and how they think. Then they are going to be, because there's this, I don't know, you will help me with a term. It's the victims of rape. We can rape them more than once. Did the perpetrator they commit crime more than once? Or there was get more rehabilitation. So that is something that I'm really interested in doing. I've tried it one time with the service, I think sometime last year, talking about how we can help the actual perpetrators so that they don't do it again. So the CBT, and it's actually a therapeutic modality that we also use in therapy, like you're saying. Now, we are getting to the core of the conversation, which will ultimately lead us to the conclusion. we are talking about thoughts, we are talking about emotions and behavior. And then well, some things like heat of the moment, or but how about committed crime in the heat of the moment. Now, there is this other legal doctrine, or you are not guilty by reason of insanity. And it's something, if you're following me on my personal accounts, you find it's something that I've mentioned, I think, the past 2 weeks, to say there is this other legal doctrine, or it's been used as a defense in some criminal activities for who committed a crime, only insane. So I want us to get more into it, maybe to tell people who are watching what is this not guilty by reason of insanity, and let's get more into it. Just in layman term, ka Setswana hela Batswana ko lapeng ke gone gore re tebe re motho ke o bolele mona go tswa wa ipedisa ga dumisa sa bana. That's what that is the conversation we are saying. But ha ke ka peta bolele mona ke na ga ta ise sa bana wa me a tsene mo wa tlhaloganya. So that is the essence of the whole conversation. So what do you want to tell us about that?
We, like you mentioned, we did touch earlier on the type of murders that are okay as a result of this violence, whether it's gender-based or it's just violence, like and ultimately the type of murder that's labeled then gives birth to the punishment that will be given to the individual, and then it births this little legal doctrine. It births this legal doctrine. Okay, but if someone kills someone in the heat of the moment, can we say that that person knew what they were doing? I get it. That's how I can just simplify legal by, I think, not guilty by reason of insanity. At the moment at which the murder was committed, can we say that the person can take account or was accountable for their actions? Was their mental state in a position where they knew what they were doing and were responsible?
Now, ladies and gentlemen, that is the end of our part 1 of our very nice conversation. And just to give you again our sponsor for this video, Bame and Beauty, please follow her on Instagram and make sure that you go through her page, browse through her work, and give her a shout out, and also book for some makeup and nails. Until next time, it's a goodbye. See you on part 2.